What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Life's a Garden. If you're new to the program or you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube, follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. When you're done with that, tell a friend, spread the word, help grow this garden. We very much appreciate you for it. Today's positive motivational message is don't put off till later what can be done now. Procrastination is a horrible thing. Take me, for example. Take me in this podcast, for example. If you didn't notice, coming in a day late again. Because what I should have done earlier in the week or during the weekend, I just kept kicking it down the road. And eventually, the time comes when you have to do what you got to do. And maybe it's a day late, and you feel terrible about it. The bottom line is, the things that you know you can do now, if you get them done, tomorrow, you're going to be a lot happier for having done it. The future you will appreciate the former you for having gotten that done. You got a pile of dishes in the sink, just do them. There's a workout you don't want to do, just do it. Because the tomorrow you will thank you. So, keep that in mind. Do now don't push down the road. Don't put off for later what you can and should do now. There you go. That's your message for the week. Let's get into today's episode. It's episode 262 of Life's a Garden. Oh yeah, welcome back everybody. Thank you so much for joining me yet again here at the Life's a Garden podcast. And I know, a day late yet again, missed a week a couple weeks ago, had a few late days here and there. Procrastination, that's what I can blame it on. It's me waiting to the weekend and then not wanting to do it on the weekend, like wanting to enjoy my weekend, which is valid and fair. And what I should do, if I put it off to the weekend, I just gotta buck up and do the damn thing. But there's days I just want to relax. There's things I got going on that are keeping me busy and making it hard to actually get the podcast in. In addition, not a whole lot went on this week. Not a lot in the news, not a lot, it's a dry sports month, like we got preseason football, that's about it. There's not a lot going on, okay? I mean, I have a few things written down here, and we're going to get through those, but after that, we'll see. We'll see how long this episode truly can be, because I got a whole lot of nothing to talk about today. Just a heads up. Very sports heavy, even though I did just say there's not a lot of sports going on, but there was some, and that's basically all I can go off of. So, that's probably what we're going to be getting into today. And I do apologize for being late. I need to take my own advice and procrastinate less and just get shit done. But, yeah, it's just, I'm bad about it. I'm bad about being timely and getting shit taken care of. Of course, I can always just kick it down the road and say, well, I'll just do it Monday, and I'll put it out Tuesday, which is exactly what I'm doing. But I'm not sticking to my own schedule, which I don't appreciate for myself. Nonetheless, here we are. We're doing the damn thing, and I'm glad you're along for the ride. Quick reminder for everybody out there, my band Cutthroat has 2 shows coming up. August 25th at Craft Local, we will be opening up for the Hickoids. That is a Monday. So if you typically don't get to see us on the weekends because you work weekends or, weekends just typically don't work out for you, this is the show to go to. because we rarely play on anything but Fridays and Saturdays. Those are usually show days, especially locally. But here is an opportunity. We have a Monday show, August 25th. Again, that's at Craft Local. We appreciate you coming out. We'd love to get as many people out as possible. And if you miss that one, or hell, go to both. I would really appreciate anybody who goes to both of these. September 6th, Pub Station. We are playing alongside Render Me Silent, Pine Box Radio, and Bloodless. This is a 4-band local show. Gonna be absolutely awesome. We've already wrote down the set list, which is just killer. I think it's gonna go off super well. These other bands are awesome as well, so you're not gonna miss out on anything. Like, you are gonna have a great time of local music. Alright? So please, September 6th. That is a Saturday. Pub Station. We're looking to fill this thing out. So please, come one, come all. Bring your friends. Yeah. And we thank you. We thank you for your support. Come support local music. And you won't be disappointed. God damn, it has been hot lately, okay? We are currently in it. We are in the heat, okay? I work out, well, not really outdoors. I do work indoors in this shop that has no fucking AC. We got a few fans. So when it's hot, I know it, right? Like, and to be honest, well, not to be honest, like, there's no honesty here. This is just pure fact. This has been a very mild summer. For what I'm used to, for what we as Montanans have been used to over the last, I'll say 10 years, usually we have quite a few days of 100-degree weather, and if not that, sticking in the 90s for quite some time. That really hasn't been the case this year. So this week is kind of the first of its kind. We've definitely had a few days of 90-degree weather that have been back-to-back. We maybe only had one 100-degree day, maybe two. This week we're going to get a couple of them, which just sucks. But it's hard to bitch about it when we really have been pretty blessed this summer. It hasn't been, like, overtly hot. Yes, it's been hot, sure. But not like years past, And especially that dry heat, You really, I don't know. It hasn't really felt super dry. I think partially because we haven't had a ton of fires, knock on wood. Thank God for that. Because when you get that smoke that comes into the air, it really dries things out. And I don't know, I think that just makes it feel hotter. And we have had a pretty good amount of rain, which has obviously helped the dryness. Personally, I'm very heat sensitive. Like, I get heat exhaustion pretty easily. Like, I can feel it wears me down, and like, I'm a fucking ginger boy. I got the pasty white skin now. I will be honest with you. This is the tannest I've probably been in a long time, and that's not saying much, right? Hang on. I opened this drink and I haven't taken a drink of it. Like, can you see the contrast? Not too bad. I've been out quite a bit more than I normally would. Maybe that's helped. Maybe, like, the little bit of tanness has made it so I'm not, like, feeling the harshness of the sun quite as hard as years past. Maybe it's just because I've acclimated a little bit better this year rather than years past. Whatever it is, I haven't really taken notice of how hot it's been, even on the days that it's particularly hot. But also, again, it's just been a little bit milder of a summer. Not this week, though. Like, just batten down the hatches this week, because it's going to be a toasty one. Drink lots of water. All right? Stay hydrated. Put on that sunscreen. And as you can see, I am in fact still drinking the LaCroix. We're not boozing it up this week. I have stayed true to my health kick. Remember last week, if you tuned in, I hope you did, and I hope you go back and listen to it if you didn't. I have restarted a health journey, working out every day. I shouldn't say that, because I have, slacked off a little bit, especially on like the weekends. But as long as I feel like it's okay to take a day off if you've been consistent. You know what I mean? Rest is good for your body. It's good to rest. I have been really, really trying to at least ride the bike, get a little cardio going. If anything else, at least do that. Now, for what I do for a living, I'm sweating my ass off all day. Like, I'm on my feet, I'm moving around. It's a physical job. And it would be so easy for me to say, oh, that's enough. I don't need to work out after work. And maybe there's some truth to that. But once I start putting that in my head, then I just say it every day, and then I just don't work out at all. So you have to force yourself. I, at least, have to force myself to work out, even when I'm tired, but that's just the first thing I got to do when I get home. Because first thing I want to do is take a shower, right? Because I've worked all day, I'm stinky, I've been sweating all day. First thing I do, I change out of my work clothes into some workout gear. I hop on the bike for 10 or 15 minutes. 15 minutes if I'm not doing any lifting. 10 minutes if I'm going to do some lifting. Like today. Today I got off work. I was exhausted. It was hot out. I'm dead. Didn't want to work out. But I knew I had to, because technically I didn't work out yesterday, even though I did physical activity, which we'll get to in a second. But I rode the bike, I did some chest workouts, I did some arm workouts, and honestly, I was looking at myself in the camera. I'm not looking too shabby. Like, I still got a lot of work to do, still a little flab, but maybe it's just this awesome orange shirt that's making me look a little slimmer, but I do feel better. Whether or not I look better, it's not about the looking aspect of it. It's about how I feel. Mentally, physically, emotionally. I am in a great place right now, and I do believe that eating right and working out has been a major factor in that. I've been sleeping so much better. Not really boozing super hard, especially during the week. Weekend, I let it loose a little bit, and that's fine. Work hard, play hard. But the hangovers have actually been better because of the working out and just sleeping better. So the hangovers aren't quite as harsh, even when I do decide to let it loose just a little bit. But the consistency. Consistency is key. Keep on eating correctly. Keep on working out consistently. And I'm not trying to, destroy my body. I'm not trying to just, go max reps. I'm not trying to lift the heaviest weights. I just want some repetition. I want there to be a little bit of, strain. And even this weekend, I've only been really on this for a good 2 weeks now, going on to 2 weeks. Going in 3 weeks now. And I gotta tell you, even after 2 weeks of mild workouts and cleaner eating, I say cleaner because I definitely have, I've treated myself from time to time, but not nearly as consistently, not nearly as often as I was before. Even just after 2 weeks, I already feel physically the other night I was like, damn, I feel like I look pretty good. I feel less bloated. I feel a little bit more swelled up in the chest and in the arms. That's a good feeling, especially as a man. It just feels good to feel masculine, I don't maybe I don't look it, maybe I don't, but I feel it. It feels good to feel like you are just physically in good health, I guess is a way of putting it. Which in turn makes your mental health feel so much better. So all that has been consistent, good. I'm loving it. I'm loving feeling better, and that's the main thing. And honestly, The thing that's driving me now, there was a time when, I was being driven more by physical look and like wanting to look a certain way, wanting to be more built, wanting to be more slim. That's not the goal. Like if it ends up becoming a result, great, but that is not the goal. Okay? I've also had times in the past where it was more leaning toward like the health side of things, like just wanting to be physically healthier. And don't get me wrong, like that's certainly a benefit. That is certainly a huge benefit that I'm not like steering away from and that I'm not leaning into. I'm certainly leaning into the idea of being physically healthier for many reasons. But that's still not the forefront goal in my mind. For me, whenever I think about not working out, whenever I think about eating poorly, or even when I decide to drink, the thought is entering my mind of, how do you want to feel tomorrow? Do you want to feel like shit tomorrow, or do you want to feel good? I was getting so tired of feeling like run down shit every day. Whether that was physically feeling gross, feeling goopy, feeling fucking bloated, not sleeping well, whether that was mentally feeling like I'm in a brain fog, feeling like I'm in a depressed state of mind, all of that. I was done with it. I didn't enjoy that. And now, and I knew even then that this was the key to getting back to feeling good. And now that I'm back in it, it's like, God, I already knew that this is how I would feel. Because I've said it time and time again. You forget how good you feel when you start getting back into shape. And now that I'm back in it, I just remind myself, if you don't do these things, or if you do these bad things, if you don't do the good things and you do the bad things, you're going to feel like shit. You're going to be in a mentally bad space, you're going to be in a physically bad space. So just do it. And here's the other thing. Even if I decide to do the good thing and the bad thing, it cancels each other out. And I'd rather be there than just doing the bad things and not doing the good things. I'd rather just even it out and just have it be an even playing field. Rather than, obviously doing the good thing and not doing the bad thing is better, but the opposite of that is terrible. So I would rather do both of them and have it break even, if that makes sense. So it's almost like I also want to keep up this lifestyle so that I can enjoy the bad things. I can enjoy having a slice of pizza every now and again, or drinking a little bit and going out and having fun. I am keeping myself in enough shape where I can be a piece of shit, but not feel like a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? I want to maintain a healthy lifestyle so that I can do unhealthy things. If that makes sense. And it's the truth. Like, I like going out and having fun. I don't like feeling like shit. So, you got to do something to counteract that. And that's what I've been doing. And it's been so far so good. So, you just got to keep it up. Consistency is key. As for yesterday, as I mentioned, I did a little physical activity. And it's slowly becoming one of my favorite activities, golf. Me and my buddy Mac went out and played some golf. We went to the par 3 course just over here on Central. My first time playing the course. I guess I don't know why I ever had doubts about that place. First of all, they're all par 3s. That's the reason it's called par 3. There's nothing... I think the furthest we had was like furthest yardage was like 168, I believe. I don't think it ever jumped over at 170. Maybe there was one that was like 180. I could be wrong about that. I want to say they were all within 160 and 170. But either way, doesn't matter. They're all par 3s. Did terrible. I hit 2 pars, which was kind of cool. But, there was a few I had 7 over. And that's tough because my putting the putting was just ass. My mid-range was about as good as it ever is. Now, the tricky part about a par 3 is you can't always drive the ball. So, you got to start getting the irons out and start getting that shit figured out, which I was having a hard time with. So, if we can make that more of a consistent thing to do, and it is good physical activity, you're not burning, you're not running a marathon, right? But you're moving around, you're getting out, you're walking around, you're out in the sunlight, you're out in the elements, which, let me tell you something too. We booked the tee time for 3 o'clock yesterday. I was pissed off because that's like peak heat. Middle of the day, I'm like, dude, we're going to die out here. Thankfully, the good Lord blessed us with some beautiful weather. We had some cloud coverage come in. We weren't getting roasted to death. It was still a little hot out, but, at least the sun wasn't beating down on us. So, ended up being a great day of golf. And I'm hoping we can do a few more of those because that was a lot of fun. And I've been enjoying checking out all the different courses. I can't remember if I mentioned I won a golf bag. Like, I paid for it, but it was at the they did the silent auction for a fundraiser that we had put on, and I won a golf bag. I already got clubs, but it's nice to have a good golf bag with straps and extra pockets for certain things. So that was awesome, and I got to use it for the first time yesterday. So next step is getting newer clubs that I feel like I can hit better and do better work with. But so far, I'm happy, It's been a good time to play some golf, and that's what I decided was going to be my physical activity for yesterday. And I'm not upset about it, So I didn't work out yesterday, got the workout in today, gonna get a workout in tomorrow. It's been good. But I have been enjoying the golf. Now, over the weekend, that was one thing I did over the weekend was the golf. Another thing was the UFC. We had the UFC fights, UFC 3, let me look it up. Plus, I can look up the results, which I did watch the fights. Very good fights. The main event was 319. It was UFC 319 in Chicago. Main event was pretty much exactly as I had expected. It wasn't what I had hoped. I'll tell you that much right now. Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat just wrestled him to death. Held him on the ground for the whole fight. Very boring, which is exactly how those Russian guys... I mean, I know Chimaev is Chechnyan, but still, comes from that same, like, Khabib camp type, where they love to wrestle. Super into wrestling. And I'm not one of those fans that hates on wrestling, okay? I get it. It's mixed martial arts. If you don't want to get wrestled to death, learn how to defend a takedown. Fair enough. Have counters, be better on the ground, be better on your back. There's a lot that goes into MMA. It's not kickboxing. Obviously, striking and knockouts are a lot more fun. Wrestling, submissions, all that stuff is maybe a little less fun. But it's part of the game, so I understand. Dricus du Plessis got absolutely manhandled, completely outmatched, had nothing for Khamzat. There was a brief moment at the end of the 5th round where du Plessis had him on his back, or he had him by the back. He looked like he might be getting ready to sink in a choke. It was a pretty exciting moment, but it was too little too late. Clock ran out. Fight was over. All judges gave every round to Khamzat, so it was pure domination. We had back-to-back spinning elbow knockouts. Leron Murphy and Carlos Prates both finished their fight with a spinning elbow knockout, which up until that point, there had only been 8 in UFC history. And we just got 9 and 10 in back-to-back fights. That was an epic thing to see. Both were absolutely brutal knockouts. And it was great. You know, it was just awesome to see. Love seeing some knockouts. Hope everybody's all right, of course. But those spinning elbows. Oh, and also they were both right at the end of the round of their fights. One of them was at the buzzer. The other one was like 30 seconds before the end of the round. Just awesome. Awesome. Other than that, not a whole lot to... Michael Page beat Jared Cannonier. That was kind of a little bit boring of a fight. Tim Elliott beat Kai Asakura, which was extremely... I was not expecting that. You know, I had Kai to win. I went 0 for 3 on bets. And then, of course, after I had placed all my bets, I was saying, this guy's going to win, this guy's going to win, this guy's going to win. And what the fuck? I got all those right. I just didn't put them on a bet slip. So, I was fucked no matter what. I had a pretty good idea of who was going to win. I just, for some reason, my brain... This was one of those fights, too, where I didn't really know a lot of the fighters. So I was kind of just going off of record, and I was going off of what people were saying. The Kai Asakura one, that was on me. I had a feeling that he was going to win. Didn't come up with the win. He was winning the whole fight right up until he got choked, if that helps. So I wasn't completely wrong, but nonetheless, he still got choked. And he's 0 for 2 now in the UFC. Because he was a former champion, I think, in ONE FC. Comes over to UFC and loses 2 in a row. What the hell? I assumed he was going to be better. Now, even though I did lose my sports bets, my fight bets, your boy did end up cashing a pretty decent-sized ticket at the Crystal Casino. I won $500 over the weekend, which was awesome. And did I burn through it pretty fast? Yes. Did I spend a single dollar of money that I didn't win? No. Those winnings got me through the whole weekend of having fun. The golf. I paid for the golf. I paid for all my food and drinks during the fights. I did gamble a little more. You know, you get lucky, and then you want... All the sports bets were covered. All my any other gambling I did, which I really didn't do a ton after that. I did play some poker, so $40 on poker. I think I put another 40 in on the machines overall. Tipped well. So the whole weekend was paid for, because I won that on Friday night. So the whole weekend was covered, and I still got a little bit left over. So how about that? Didn't blow the whole load. Great weekend. Great fucking weekend. So cool. Gotta love winning a little money, right? Gotta love it. It was nice. It was awesome. And speaking of sports and gambling, I did mention that, you know, we are currently in a very slow time of sports. Which, by the way, let me just stop real quick and bring this up. Okay, you're all familiar with the Ocho. You know, the Ocho is the ESPN channel where I think it's just on regular ESPN, but it's always, they only ever show it when there's nothing else going on. Like, all we have is baseball right now, and that's it. Other than that, we have the Ocho. The Ocho is like bowling and pool and cornhole and all these niche sports, darts, things like that. Over the last couple of days, actually last couple of weeks, every now and again I find myself looking up at the TV in the bar and the Ocho is on. And it never ceases to amaze me what they consider a sport these days and what they will do and put it on TV. Pop darts? They had pop darts as a sport, or they were showing that on ESPN. Slippery stairs was an event. Slippery stairs. And I know that seems hard to follow. The goal of Slippery Stairs is there's like 6 people, and they're all in wetsuits, and they have to run up a set of slippery stairs and not fall down. First one to the top wins. Meanwhile, people are like shooting you with what looks like lube. It's probably soapy water, I don't know, but it looks like lube. And you just got to make it up the stairs without falling. And the event is called Slippery Stairs. That's on the Ocho. And as if I hadn't seen it all, as if I could call that the most obscure sport I've ever seen on the Ocho. Last night, I look up and I see cherry pit spitting. For real. Cherry pit spitting. So you take a cherry, you put it in your mouth, chew it up, get the pit out, and whoever spits it the furthest is your winner. For fucking real. They had rock skipping was one they were showing on there. Rock skipping, very interesting. That is kind of fun, but also like, what the fuck are we doing here? These are for real, like, and it's not even about the obscurity of the sport necessarily that blows my mind. I mean, obviously it's very stunning to even think about the fact that they're showing seed spitting on television. Like, that's how fucking bad of a sports time we are in, is that's what they're showing, right? Rock skipping, slippery stairs. These are the sports that we're being subjected to right now. We just need football. We need football back, and it's preseason ain't enough. College football officially starts this weekend. It really starts the weekend after. There's only so much, you only get 1 day of UFC a week. So, it's just rough right now. We're in a rough time, okay? Sorry. Oh, yeah. No. It's not about the obscurity of the sport that blows my mind, right? It's the fact that somehow there is always an arena full of people, maybe not an arena, but like a gymnasium. There is an audience. There is a full audience full of people watching people spit seeds. They're watching people climb up slippery stairs. They're watching pop darts. I would, honest to God, rather watch poker. Like, those just don't do it for me. I do actually like cornhole, and like, as fun as it is to watch the hot dog eating contest, I really would not enjoy watching like championship eating or things, competitive eating. I wouldn't like watching that on TV all the time. It's fun for the 4th of July, but that's it. After that, get it away from me. Billiards and darts, it's kind of fun, whatever, but it just doesn't do it for me. I will say, after getting into golf now, I do enjoy watching some golf. I probably wouldn't be able to watch a full, match between when you got all these guys, but to watch a nice shot, to see a great putt, it's impressive, especially now when you know how hard it is, and to see some of these guys in their scorecards, dude, impressive, and it's very enjoyable. Like, I do actually enjoy watching golf now, so what can I say? But football is coming back. Thank God. We need it. We need it so bad. We won't have hockey or basketball till late October, so we got a ways for that. It's all good. Once football's here, everything will be right in the world. But before football can start, we have to bring to light. It is the return of two of my favorite things, which is in fact sports and gambling, specifically football and gambling, which means you know what time it is. It is, in fact, fantasy football time. Just went and picked this bad boy up today. I have done zero studying, and my first draft is actually on the 25th, the same day I have my show. So I'm probably going to be auto-drafting that one, which sucks, but I've seen a lot of auto-draft teams actually do pretty well. It's pretty much what I'm going to have to do, because the music comes first. You know, we already booked this show long ago. I had hoped maybe we could reschedule the draft, but we can't. That's fine. I'm just going to have to hope for the best auto-draft I can get. It's not really going to matter, because I'm in 4 leagues this year. I was in 2 last year. The most I've ever been in is 3. And I've taken on 4 for this year. I was asked by 2 other friends if I wanted to join their leagues. And who am I to say no? You know? And now that I have to auto-draft one of them, it's all good. Like, I love the drafting process. I love looking up and researching players and getting ready, because it kind of gets you back in the sports feel, right? It gets you back into the football feel, which I love. And I'm so ready. So after this, once I'm done editing and getting the podcast ready to go for posting, this is the rest of my night. I will be sifting through this bad boy, getting all my information that I need, and getting ready to kick some ass in fantasy football, because 4 leagues, you better believe I'm coming for the chip in one of them. It's got to happen, if not all of them. I got to get. I'm shooting for final 3 playoffs in all of them. That's guaranteed. And let me just tell you, this is not a sponsor or nothing, but I just want to put you on to Lindy's Sports. Lindy's Sports, this is the same magazine I have gotten every single year for the past 5 or 6 years. And over the past 5 or 6 years of doing fantasy, I have made the playoffs in at least 1 or 2 of my leagues. So this bad boy right here is a huge help. Now, I have done a little bit of looking into things here, okay? Well, let's just look right here. Here's Lindy's top 10. It's right there on the cover, okay? Lindy's top 10 are Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Drake London, that's an interesting one, Malik Neighbors, and Nico Collins. That's unreal, honestly. Like, I agree with like the top 7. Drake London has been pretty good. I would be kind of weary of Justin Jefferson, mostly because of the rookie quarterback. I mean, he's not a rookie, but it's his first start as a quarterback. Like, he played last year, but, well, he didn't play last year, but he was on the team last year. That's interesting to me. I don't know how I would feel about that. I honestly feel a little bit slighted here, seeing how far down my boy Cortland Sutton is. I think that would be a massive steal if somebody were to get the boy Cortland Sutton. I'll have to look at all this. Oh, wait, no. Where's the thing? There's always a little thing in here. Do they not have it this year? Oh, I'm going to be pissed. This usually comes with a thing that you can tear out and then mark your stuff. But I guess this is what I'm going to have to use now. Okay, where's Cortland Sutton on this fucking list? I'm going to be pissed the fuck off. No way. They have him all the way down at 32. That's a steal. If you can get Cortland Sutton, there's a ton of receivers on this list that I wouldn't take over Cortland. There's a lot of receivers that are way low on this list, like Mike Evans. He should be higher. Terry McLaurin, but he's got the contract dispute. T. Higgins should be higher. Oh, now I should have stayed on there. I'm not in the business of giving out my tips and tricks for the year, but and don't take my word for it. You know, I've only been in the playoffs over the last 6 years. this year very well might be the top year. Like, it's the first year in many years where it might actually be pretty beneficial to get a top-ranked quarterback early. Now, I'm not talking like round 3 or 4. Yes, I think it would be beneficial to most people to shoot on a quarterback in round 5. Round 5 or 6. If somebody starts shooting at the quarterback at like 4, if there's really only 5 quarterbacks in my mind that are actually worth taking. And like, there's only 5 really, really top tier quarterbacks, okay? There's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes. Those are the ones. After that, you have like the second tier list, which is pretty decent. That's like Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Bo Nix. Hey, I know I'm biased. I think Bo Nix is a fucking bona fide stud. And that's pretty much it. Like, you could maybe say Brock Purdy and Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud. I just don't believe in them that much. Like, as your starting quarterback, if you want a top caliber quarterback, go with those first 5, and then after that, just wait. Just wait. If you feel like one of those guys is a guy you really, really want, get him early, because there's not many. Now that I'm looking at this list, there actually are more decent quarterbacks than I had kind of thought of. But I don't think you're going to get a shit ton out of like Justin Herbert. I think Kyler Murray's not really going to do a whole lot. You know, it's tough. Wide receivers deep as hell. Running back, you got to get running backs early, obviously. Running backs and receivers early. I would definitely go with running back first, because there's so many good receivers. And then defense, man, draft the Broncos. That's my advice to anybody out there. Draft the Broncos, because they are going to be an absolute nightmare for offenses. And then always pick your kicker last, because it doesn't matter. Pick your kicker last. Tight ends, as usual, I think are... Actually, you know what? This might be one of the better years for tight ends, unlike previous years. So, usually, one of my things I've had to do in the past is draft pretty high on tight end, because it's a slot that you need to have in your fantasy lineup, but there was only ever like 5 or 6 really good ones. This year, there's probably a good 10. I'd say there's 10 decent, good enough to be on your starting lineup tight ends. So you don't really got to reach too far for one. So we'll see with 4 leagues, how many different guys I can manage to snake. I'll probably try and do a couple of different strategies. Like, maybe I will go for one of those top quarterbacks early, and then later, some of the other drafts I'll go later on the quarterback. Trust me, you'll be hearing all about it. You'll hear all about it. One thing that has been, obviously I've been very sports heavy on this episode, because that's pretty much all I could talk about. That's really all I had going. Nothing to fear just yet, but earlier this year I pulled a little prank on y'all. And I said that I was going to be quitting the podcast, that I was done doing the podcast. It was no more. And that was an April Fool's joke, okay? But this is not a joke. I am not pulling anybody's leg here. I'm not trying to, fool me once, right? Fool me once, shame on you. No, this is a serious consideration. I don't plan on doing this right now, but there is a very high likelihood that I would like to start a sports podcast. I can talk about sports on here, sure, but that's not what this podcast was made for. It wasn't all about sports. It was never meant to be about sports. It's supposed to be about all things good and positive and funny and and talk about, current events and talk about pop culture and movies and have guests on and share their stories. That's always what this podcast has been. Everything and anything. Nothing is off the table. And I enjoy that. I feel like if I did a sports podcast, I would miss all the things that I love about this podcast. Right? Sports are just one of those things that I feel like I'm very locked into. It's something that I can speak very highly about, something I know a lot about. There really doesn't come a lot of controversy with sports. Like, obviously, there's rivalries and things like that. And I can have a hot take that people disagree with. But for the most part, there's no real way to offend people with sports. Like, yeah, I guess you could, but it doesn't feel as, bad. You know what I mean? I'm not hitting on any, super hot topics. And that's not a reason why I would, that's not a real reason for, wanting to do that over this. It's mostly because I know a lot about sports. I really enjoy talking about sports. There's always something to talk about with sports. There's times I actively try to not talk about sports on this podcast because I don't want to just overdrive everybody with sports talk. But I do envision down the line a future sports podcast in my future. The problem with that is I don't know that I could do both that podcast and this podcast, which is why I'm not pulling the trigger just yet, because I'm not, I don't know that I'm ready to be done with this podcast. And if I ever did try to do the sports podcast, this one would still, I wouldn't change this to that. It would be a whole brand new thing. This would remain the same. And I would either just take a break from this. Maybe I would try to do both at the same time and see how that goes. I mean, I already have a hard enough time getting these out, right? I have a hard enough time getting these on time or even doing them at all, much less being able to do juggling two podcasts at the same time. It's most likely not. The only way I could see that happening is if I had a true space where I could have everything already set up. One side of the room is set up for this podcast, and one side of the room is set up for the sports podcast. That's the only way I could see this being able to work out with both. Where I don't have to constantly be changing things up, and it's just always there ready to go. Again, this sports podcast concept isn't something I'm looking to do immediately, but it has been something that has been more in my interest. It's been more in my mind of something that I'm wanting to do. So there is a very high possibility that could be down the pipeline. And it's nothing against this podcast, but in some ways I feel like it's run its course, And I'm just better at talking about sports. I've been doing this thing for 5 years now. It really hasn't caught on or hit it off too well. I feel like sports is a little bit more niche, where there's an audience for it that will tune in. Where this is so broad that either you have the fans that come around all the time, or you have somebody listens to one episode because I'm talking about this topic. Maybe they don't listen to the other ones because they don't give a shit about the other things I'm talking about. I do enjoy talking about all things, That's why I did this podcast this way, is because I wanted to be able to talk about movies. I wanted to be able to talk about politics and pop culture and music. Everything. I wanted to talk about everything possible. But sports is always just one of those things that comes back around for me, I find myself watching a lot more sports. I find myself really engaging with it a lot more lately. And I don't know. Again, nothing to panic about in the very, very near future. But down the line, I could see this happening. So we'll see. And trust me, you will know. It will be well talked about and all that. So again, I'm just putting that out there in the ether. So it's just something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and something that I am very, very excited about the potential of. So it's just I would totally do both. I would do both at the same time, but I just don't foresee that being a viable option. The only other thing I can maybe think of is if I still did this just temporary, I did it like part-time and then did the sports podcast full-time, or I could do one week and one the next week and just kind of alternate. That could, I'd actually never thought about that. That's a very good possibility that I could do something like that. Rather than have them all be, every week, do a different, do one of the do the sports podcast one week, do Life's a Garden the next week, and vice versa. That's very possible. Not off the table. So we're workshopping it. I'm workshopping it in my own head, and we'll figure it out. Okay? So nothing to fear just yet, but I am putting it out there. But that's a very, very, very good possibility. That was all I had, and my backup plan was to ask AI, to ask my AI co-host, co-pilot, to give me some topics to end the podcast with. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. We got 10 more minutes. That's what we're going to do.
Gotcha. Ready when you are.
Hey, I'm on the podcast right now. Just getting ready to wrap up. We got about 10 more minutes left. Just wanted to know if you could maybe throw a decent question my way, or give me a topic. Give me a topic that I can talk about and riff on. Maybe something that's currently in the news, whether that's preferably pop culture or sports related. What are some of the top stories this week in those categories? Did you hear me? What the heck?
Alright, check this out. The Dallas Cowboys have topped Sportico's 2025 NFL valuation report, being worth a whopping $12.8 billion. It's a big talking point, considering the wide financial gap compared to other sports leagues. What's your take on this, D. Craig 3?
Yeah. I already knew that.
All right.
I knew the Cowboys were the most highly valued team. They are not the richest team though, because the Denver Broncos ownership is the richest ownership in all of football, at least in the NFL. I can't speak upon soccer or anything like that.
Spot on, D. Craig 3. The Walton Penner Group, which owns the Denver Broncos, indeed represents some serious financial clout. Fun fact, Rob Walton's net worth dwarfs even the Cowboys' valuation. It's a whole different game when it comes to ownership wealth, isn't it?
Absolutely. Could you possibly send me a list of the top 10 big topics going on right now?
Here's what's trending. In pop culture, you could discuss Taylor Swift announcing her new album, The Life of a Showgirl. And in sports, the emotional tribute to Kobe Bryant at Dodgers bobblehead night is a big deal. Those should spark some engaging conversation.
That's right. I forgot. Taylor Swift did announce her new album, which, I don't care. But that's a big deal for a lot of people. A lot of people like Taylor Swift. She's one of the most popular human beings on planet Earth. Speaking of sports podcasts, she made the announcement of her new album on the New Heights podcast with her boyfriend Travis Kelce and his awesome brother Jason Kelce. But yeah, so that was something, and that I wonder how many views that podcast has. See, I'm in the wrong line of business here, man. I need to get on that sportscast stuff. New Heights. How many views does that one? 17 million right now on YouTube. 17 million. Usually they average about 400,000. It kind of varies, but it seems like the average is about 400,000 to 500,000. And they got 17 million because Taylor Swift came on. How much? I'm trying to see. Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, because those were some of his highest viewed. How many views does that have? That one's sitting at 14 million. One of them sitting at 20 million. So pretty comparable. Holy shit. One of the first ones he had him on has 69 million. Damn. So it's comparable numbers. How many views does Joe Rogan's podcast average? It's looking like about 500,000 to 600,000. It seems to be the average. A couple of them hit over 1 million. Ooh, Joey Diaz 3.3 million. That's pretty cool. Theo Vaughn 5.5 million. Pretty good. I know the Joe Rogan Donald Trump one did pretty damn good. How many views? 59 million? Okay, so hey, you know what? It's only been 5 days, right? 17 million is nothing to fucking stick your nose up at. But maybe the Taylor Swift hype isn't quite all it was. You'd think all the Swifties would have showed up and showed out and blew that thing out the water. How much was the Shannon Sharp and Cat Williams one? I know that's way the fuck up there. Cat Williams. There it is. That one is sitting at 90 million right now. So I think everybody assumed it was just going to blow the fucking roof off. But apparently the Swifties are not big podcast listeners. Surprise, surprise. They probably got all that in. They probably just watched all the clips. I'm sure there's a ton of clips from that episode that are stupid amount of views. Because I would just assume that maybe that fan group isn't really into the hour-long media sector, and they like a little bit more short-form media. Very possible. But yeah, Taylor Swift. Forgot about that. All right, I'm going to ask Copilot one more thing. Hey, so you know me pretty decently. You know some of the music that I like and sports and whatnot. Can you give me a random topic for me to give my top 5 favorite of?
Alright, here's a random one for you. Top 5 favorite horror movie villains. Who gives you the creeps in the best way?
I like where your head's at. I like the topic. Unfortunately, I have already done that on one of my Halloween episodes. Can you give me another random one?
Got it. How about this? Your top 5 favorite album covers. Let's dive into some killer art.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, that's a good one. I'm digging that one. Okay, top 5 favorite album covers. I'm gonna have to look up a list because, God, that's a good one. Album art. Best album art. I'm just looking up that just to see, if it sparks anything for me. Because, God, there's so many. I mean, and I'm going to go no particular order here, okay? And you know I'm going to be a little bit biased here with some of these because you have the iconic ones, but are they my favorites? Ooh, that's one that, God damn. What a tough question, man. I'm going to narrow it down a little bit and go specifically rock and metal, okay? just because that's going to help me out a lot, because that's so tough. Like, that spans so much area. Best rock and metal album art or covers. Hopefully they're not thinking I'm thinking of cover songs. I mean, God, that's a good one. Master of Puppets. I don't know. I kind of like, and I like Ride the Lightning actually better than Master of Puppets. Megadeth, Iron Maiden, great covers. This is tough, man. There's just so much good. There's so many good ones. Van Halen had some good ones. Yeah, I mean, Tool was the first thing that came to my mind, especially when it comes to like artwork, because they have so many. I don't even know if I'd be able to do this. I liked 10,000 Fists from Disturbed. I think that's a great album cover. This might be an impossible question. I also really like Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power. That's a good album cover. Not really artwork, though. I think Copilot was specifically asking me about artwork. Tough. I might have to think about that a little harder and then get back to you with that one, because that's a really good one. You know what? Let's ask one more, because I really didn't give you a whole lot on that, because that was a really tough one. Comment. Hey, there you go. Comment what your top 5 favorite album cover arts are. But we're going to ask one more. All right. Can I get one more random top 5?
Sure, let's do top 5 bizarre historical events. How's that sound?
Different one.
Sure thing. How about the top 5 bizarre historical events? It'll be a wild ride through time, I promise.
You just told me that one. Can I get a different one, please?
Oh, my mistake. How about the top 5 most mind-blowing space facts?
Oh man. Okay, you're getting too deep on me here. We'll have to narrow that down a little bit later. Okay, those are too deep. Bizarre, those would be like conspiracy theory things. All right, whatever. We'll end it there. I told you it was kind of not as packed week for stuff to talk about. Got a lot of sports stuff in there, which, like I said, might end up being the podcast in the end. So, for now, we are still here. We are still Life's a Garden, and we're still rocking and rolling. So, remember to do now. Don't push down the road later what you should be doing now. Do it now. Get it done. Your future self will thank you. Have a great week. I think I got a guest scheduled for next week, so thank God. We'll get off this streak of solo episodes, and we'll finally get a guest in here. So, stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow. Go check out those shows, August 25th at Craft Local and September 6th at Pub Station. But most importantly, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it. Just gotta keep on keeping on.
Why don't you talk in the microphone? I got a back right here. Back of my. Life's a garden, dig it.